Hello, this is Dr. Sanchez Mayers, and in this module we're going to talk about the terms Latino and Hispanic and what they mean. We're also going to be looking at some demographics of the Hispanic population in the United States. The term Hispanic originated in the 1500s when Rome controlled the Iberian Peninsula, where Spain was. It was called Hispania. So people from there were called Hispanicas, which meant they came from an area where Spanish was spoken. The origin of the term Latino is of more recent origin. Its first known use, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, was in the 1940s. And it's a Spanish-American term, probably short for Latino Americano or Latin American. It meant or means a person who is born or lives in South America, Central America, or Mexico, or a person in the United States whose family is originally from one of those areas. In 1997, the federal government, through the Office of Management and Budget, issued new standards for the classification of federal data on race and ethnicity. They defined how a number of different ethnic groups, including Hispanics, would be defined by all official government agencies. And this standard is the basis for the current Census Bureau definition. The Census Bureau in the 2010 census defined Hispanic or Latino as a person of Cuban, Mexican, Puerto Rican, South or Central American, or other Spanish culture or origin regardless of race. Now notice that even though they said a person from South or Central America, it doesn't include Brazilians or other ethnic groups in those regions who are not of Spanish origin. So in this course we're going to use these two terms interchangeably. So how do Hispanics perceive themselves? Most often they identify themselves by their country of origin, such as Mexican, Cuban, Puerto Rican. Some say Hispanic or Latino mainly to Anglos, and some say they're just American. We're going to be talking more about identity, Hispanic identity, because it does make a difference in terms of social work practice and assessment especially. So now let's look at an overview of the Latino population in the United States. Interestingly, the United States ranks second in the world in the size of the Hispanic population worldwide. Only Mexico has a larger Hispanic population in 2010 than the United States. Here's a map of the percent of the total population, Hispanic population, by county. And as you can see with the dark blue, there are counties in the United States, especially in the Southwest and in Florida, who have 50% or more Hispanic population. Some of these counties in South Texas have almost 90% or more Hispanics. The Latino population reached a new high of 55.4 million in 2014, or 17.4% of the total U.S. population. This is an increase of 1.2 million from the year before. Hispanics are a young group. The median age is 29 years, so they're much younger than other racial or ethnic groups. This is a chart that shows the growth of the Hispanic population in millions. As you can see, in 1970, there were 9.6 million Hispanics in the United States. By 2014, there were 55.4 million, as I mentioned before. You have to remember that when we see official statistics about the Hispanic population, that it doesn't necessarily take into account the number of undocumented Hispanics in the United States. Here's a chart that shows a projection to the year 2050. Now, the Census Bureau is projecting that by the year 2050, almost a third of the U.S. population will be Hispanic. Here's a map of the top 10 states with the largest Hispanic population. This is in numbers, and as you can see here, California has 14 million Hispanics. Texas has 9.5 million. And New York has 3.4. New Jersey is number 7 in the states with the largest Hispanic populations. Now here's a map of the top 10 states as a percentage of their total population. So in this case, you can see that California, 37.6% of the population is Hispanic, and that's the same as Texas. Arizona is 29.6%, as is Nevada with 26.5%. Florida, 22%. So these 10 states have a large percentage and the majority of the Hispanic populations in the United States. But as you'll see in the next chart, things are changing. These are the top 10 states with the largest Hispanic population growth. And as you can see, they're out of the traditional areas where Hispanics tended to migrate to, which was the Southwest, the Northeast, or Florida. And it's really interesting. Some of these states, most of them are in the South, a few in the Northeast, and one in the Midwest, South Dakota. Hispanics increased by over 100%. In all these areas, almost except for Georgia and Delaware, the percent of Hispanics increased by over 100%. Tennessee, 134%. South Carolina, 148%. Alabama, 145%. Most of the Hispanics who moved to these areas are low-wage workers who've been looking for work. But as the number of Hispanics increases in areas where they traditionally have not been, it's going to change the dynamic of interpersonal relationships in these areas. Here's a chart that shows the Hispanic population growth comparing Hispanic U.S. births with immigration. As you can see, in the 80s and 90s, the growth in the Hispanic population was fueled by immigration. Starting in the 2000s, it is now births that are fueling the Hispanic population growth, not immigration. These 4 charts show the age-sex distribution of Latinos compared to non-Hispanic whites. The chart in the top left appears like a pyramid with the age distribution decreasing at the top. White non-Hispanics in the chart on the top right have a bulge in the 45 to 69-year-old ranges. Foreign-born Hispanics in the chart on the bottom lower left have a bulge in the 30 to 50-year range age group, because many of them have come here as adults. U.S.-born Hispanics have a pyramid with a wide base, a bulge in the 0 to 24-year-old range. Again, this is a reflection of the Latino birth rate and the much younger Latino population. This is going to have many implications for societal institutions in this country, not the least of which is education. Now here's a little breakdown of the Hispanic population by type of origin. The majority of Hispanics in the United States are Mexican or Mexican American, about 63%. The next largest group are Puerto Ricans, who make up about 9%. And then South Americans, Central Americans are 8%. Other Latino groups, 8%. So as you can see, the majority of the population are Hispanics, but they have, Mexicans, but they have, the different Hispanic groups have settled in different parts of the country. So, as you know, the majority of Mexicans are in the Southwest. Cubans are in Florida and New Jersey, which has the second largest Cuban population in the United States. Puerto Ricans tended to go to the Northeast. New York has a very large Puerto Rican population, and there are now lots of Dominicans who are moving to New Jersey. Even in New Jersey, there are different groups, and spread in different parts of the state. So here's a little snapshot of New Jersey. The Hispanic population in 2010 was 17.7% of the population. It's now increased and was in 2013 to 18.9%. And this is an interesting map of New Jersey, which shows population change by county. And as you can see here, the Hispanic population increased from 2000 to 2010. They increased 39.2%, while there's been decrease in the white population, 1.2%. And so some of the largest increases have been, well, the other large ones are the Asians and Native Americans, which is interesting. Now, these two maps show the Hispanic population in numbers on the left and by percent on the right. And as you can see, there are some counties in New Jersey that have very high Hispanic populations, and the percent in some counties is over 30% or more, which is interesting. This is Latinos by specific origin in New Jersey. And here you can see that the largest group in New Jersey are Puerto Ricans. Remember when we looked at the national map of Latinos, Mexicans made up the largest group, over 63%. In New Jersey, they're only about 14%, but there's large numbers of Puerto Ricans and South Americans. This is interesting also. Place of birth of Latinos in New Jersey, 33.4% were born in New Jersey, but 44.3% are foreign born. They were not born in the United States at all. So this has been a short little overview of the Hispanic population in the United States to help put the rest of our discussions in context.